Hey, everybody, please hit that like, subscribe, and share button and leave your comments below.
Okay, Chris Peaks here, back today with my partner in crime, Brandon Moseley, for our BCS, the Brandon and Christopher Show, the state of Alabama, coming at you from undisclosed locations here in the Yellowhammer State to see what is up in the world of politics today. Brandon, how are you, sir?
I am doing fine. But the
So
camera's
I
not working.
do what now?
Other than the camera's not working.
Yeah,
Sorry
no,
about
so
that.
good. Oh, that's all right. So, I guess the big thing is 800-pound gorilla in the room or whatever, or elephant is the veterans bill in the legislature right now. Is that be a fair statement?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk on that one.
Well, just for people who may not know, can you give us a brief synopsis on the difference between like the federal and state? I mean, what does the state VA actually do as opposed to the federal?
There's a number of programs that the state VA is involved in. There are nursing homes for veterans that is maintained and managed by the state VA. There's veteran cemeteries. There's veterans hospitals in the veteran healthcare system. They get most of their money from the Fed, but the VA in the state technically oversees that to a point.
Okay. So, what
There's
is the
various other
change?
programs that the state VA does, fighting veteran suicide and other, veterans workplace training and various other programs. A lot of it, they administer a lot of federal money, in addition to state money. But yeah, every state has its own veterans department.
So, what is? I mean, it seems like there's a power grab taking place. What's going on with it?
As it is now, the Veterans Board is a 17-member board,
Hmm.
and the governor appoints the members of the board, but she has to appoint him from three names given to her by the veteran service organizations here in the state.
Okay.
Uh, and the board as a whole, with the governor as a member of the board, selects the commissioner of Veterans Affairs. What happened was she wanted to fire Commissioner Kent Davis, and the board told her, no, you can't do that, which she couldn't, or she did anyway because she invoked the supreme power of the executive. So now she's punishing the board for you know, defying her, and she wants control of the whole department. So she's, got legislation where she picks all the board members and she picks the commissioner, and the board it becomes an advisory board instead of a managing board. And basically through her hand picked commissioner, she will have say over, the governance of the Alabama Department of Veteran Affairs.
So,
It's
th-
just a massive power grab on an
so
epic
th-
scale.
this is going to be just a rubber stamp board now.
Yes. If the legislation that the governor's office has drafted and which Senator Andrew Jones and Representative Ed Oliver are carrying passes in the form that the governor sent it, although when it was on the Senate floor, this bill changed a lot.
So, so is this just a vendetta by her?
Um, I mean, I have no other explanation that this is a vendetta by the governor because she's only in office, less than 2 years. So, I mean, she's not going to, she'll wield this power, but it'll be on her way out. This is a way to get vengeance against people that did bow and kiss the ring.
Don't we have a lot more important things to be focused on than spending this?
Yeah, we do, but this is a good distraction, a get away from serious issues, and a way to punish our political enemies because that's what we do.
Uh, do you think it's going to pass?
Yes, but it's going to be in a modified form. I don't know what the final bill is going to look like, but a lot of changes were made on the Senate floor. I can't believe this goes through the process in the House without more changes.
Do you think that this is a good bill or this is bad?
Um, if you were changing the governance of the Veterans Board to improve service and efficiency and make the agency more modern and responsive, I'd have to give it some credence. But when you know it's just a personal political vendetta because some people defied you and your power, yeah, I don't believe you can get a good outcome from a poison tree. There's not good fruit from a poison tree.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. This thing has nothing to do with the overall helping our veterans or improving their quality of life. Just
I don't see where the veterans gain any benefit from this. They'll just have less authority over their board.
okay. Um, is there anything else that I missed that we should touch on with that, or do you want to move on to another
But we
topic?
probably need to mention that there were changes made to the bill.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The original bill was a 9-member board.
Mm-hmm.
Kay Ivey picked 7 members of the board. The
She
Speaker of the
picked seven.
Alabama House of Representatives picked one, and the President pro tempore of the Senate picked the other one. That was the original bill. Um, I won't get into which senator did what because I'll get confused here. But on the floor, the Democrats demanded and got that the minority leader of the Senate and the minority leader of the House both get to pick members of the board. That amendment was accepted. That's the way, otherwise the Democrats would have filibustered the bill.
So now we're
The
what up to
lieutenant
11?
governor came out against the bill the day before. So to placate the lieutenant governor and give him he's a head of the military stabilization committee in the state. They gave the lieutenant governor 2 picks. So that added 2 more members to the board.
Now we're up to
Uh,
13.
yes. So there's at
Okay.
least 13 members now of the board. It was originally 17. Then the governor wanted a 9-member board. Now we're back to at least a 13-member board. Presently, all 17 members are picked ultimately from within the ranks of the veteran service organizations, American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, et cetera, disabled American veterans, the three, the most powerful veteran service organizations get to pick the leadership of the board, in, cooperation with the governor. And governor's deal that she picked all the members other than the 2, it didn't have to have any influence from the veteran service organizations. Um, on the floor, it was amended so that the uh, group, the veteran service organization with the most members would get to pick one. The veteran service organization with the second most members would get to pick another. They don't get to pick, they get to present a list of names to the governor for her to, pick from. And then Chris Elliott brought a bill where the third most powerful veteran service organization group would get a pick. Now, this is down from them getting 17 to them getting 3, but it is an acknowledgement that, they do probably should have some influence. The governor's bill did not require that any of the 9 be veterans. On the floor, it was amended so that at least 5 members of the veterans board be actual veterans. It was also amended where one of those veterans has to be a woman. Then it was amended where one of those five, veterans has to have actually served in a war. Not sure how they define war, as we do a lot of fighting that may not necessarily be under war declared. But
Yeah, we haven't declared war since the second.
well, I think we declared war on terror. So arguably, Afghanistan and Iraq qualify as actual wars under my understanding, because there was a declaration of war after 9/11 on terrorism.
Was it from Congress?
Yes,
Okay, all right. I forgot that.
this is going back to 2001. This has since been repealed, so we're not operating. My understanding that we're not operating under that today, although we're still fighting, ISIS and various, the Houthis and various other scummy groups of people in the Middle East for, power control, protect American assets and lives, etc. But yeah, one of them has to be a wartime veteran. There is an amendment that I think was on the floor when we decided to carry it over that would change it from the governor picking the commission to the board being able to present three names to the governor for the governor to pick from. I don't believe that was adopted. Obviously this bill was changing markedly in real time. And so ultimately Senator Andrew Jones just decided no moss and decided to carry the bill over. They can bring it back at any time.
Um, you know, I don't have a problem. First of all, I think there should be somebody on the board who served in during war or combat or whatever.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
have a
I kind of think the membership of the Veterans Board should be limited to there was another amendment would put two members of the Alabama National Guard on the board. One officer, one enlisted person. I to me, everybody on the board should be veterans, active duty military people like our guard members, uh, or the spouse or widow, widower of a veteran. I
absolutely.
consider
I
some
mean,
Gold Star moms. Yeah, they might, have an interest in the Veterans Board. Anybody that interacts with it regularly. Yeah, I mean, but putting Brandon, I mean, Brandon on there who didn't serve, I think would be improper.
yeah, I think that's improper. I think it's kind of,
I
I don't
love
know,
veterans
insulting
and
to
I know a
veterans.
lot, but yeah,
I mean, as
I
somebody who
don't
served,
get any veterans benefits because I don't deserve any veterans
right?
benefits. So why do I have a say of what the board does?
I mean, I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with them putting a female on it because obviously we've got had a lot of females that served. But you're right. The thing with if it's non-service members, then it should be somebody like you just mentioned, a Gold Star mom or the spouse or a widow. We shouldn't have people on there. I don't need to be on some. Uh, I guess I'm trying to
Because
make a
someone
comparison.
donates a big check to the governor and is really smart doesn't mean they need to be on the veterans board.
Exactly.
Now, if it's a
Exactly.
veteran who's really smart and brought a big check to the governor, sure, why not? But
Yeah.
my fear is that this is going to be just another board in Montgomery that, a bunch of flunkies that, support this governor or the next governor, they're just, hey, I'm handing out jobs and titles to my friends, which is
So
too
is
often the case in Montgomery.
is the lieutenant governor? Is he I mean, is he doing this, defying the governor, jockeying for political position somehow, or is it just? It seems like this
There's
whole his
rumors
whole
that the fired veterans commissioner Kent Davis may run for governor. I think that, the lieutenant governor's interest in this is so that Ainsworth doesn't face Kent Davis in a Republican primary. I think he's trying to talk Kent Davis in not running.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be, that would be an interesting opponent right there, a veteran.
Yeah, I mean, Kent Davis was a retired Navy admiral. He served in Desert Storm, on the battleship Missouri of all things. He
Really?
served in the Somalia, conflict
With Bill,
on
when
the
Black Hawk down?
aircraft carrier. He served in Iraq and helped set up the Iraqi court system after we nuked the old system. And he served a tour in Afghanistan. And he also served as the communications guy in the Pentagon.
I bet the lieutenant governor does want to keep him out of her primary
I
because
mean,
that would be a
that's an
very,
impressive resume. I mean, he's an
especially in this state.
attorney. He's a former JAG officer. He fired Hunter Biden from the military.
And with our, love of military people and as many service members as we sent in there, yeah, that would be a scary opponent for the lieutenant governor, I
Yeah, he's
think. I
the
mean,
former city manager of Anniston. He's
oh
worked for
wow,
Homeland Security. I mean, his resume is like just a dream resume.
wow.
And then again, he's
uh,
run a major, state department under two different governors.
and how would you go negative against this guy if you were running against him? How do you? I mean that.
I mean, you can do
Oh
what Kay Ivey said and say that he's not a team player.
yes, gonna fly like a lead balloon.
Yeah, I mean, somehow you can retire from the Navy, or he's been in the Army too.
Oh, he's in the army too.
Yes.
Oh wow, so he's in the army. Mm. So you served and you retired from the military, and you're not a team player. Uh,
I have a hard time getting that, but that's what the governor says. He doesn't work well with other department heads.
yeah.
I think if he runs, he'll be very potent. Now, I kind of think the better role for an attorney like Kent Davis is attorney general.
That's what was going to be my question there with Attorney General. I mean, we've already got Pam Casey. I'm sorry. Did you want to stay on the Veterans Affairs or go on to something else?
Yeah, we probably need to go on to something else.
So, and speaking of that, I mean, do you want to, or do you want to stay in the legislature? Or you want to talk about the Lieutenant Governor? I mean, that
Well,
Attorney General's race? Or
we will talk about the attorney general's race for a minute. Right now, we got Pam
sure,
Casey,
yeah.
district attorney in Blount County. I'm hearing that Catherine Green Robertson, who's a assistant attorney general in Steve Marshall's office, is looking at it. Jeff Poore at 1819 News reported that, attorney and failed congressional candidate Caroline Dobson might be
Wow.
interested in getting in this race. So, there's three women already either in the race or talking about the race. And then Jay Mitchell, the Supreme Court justice, may give up the Supreme Court to run for that because he has, more political ambitions rather than just spending the rest of his career on a court.
That was my next question. Is he Lieutenant or Attorney General and then try to get the
I
governor?
think his goal would be to be governor, but you're not jumping from, I'm an associate justice to governor. So associate justice to attorney general, then get better known and then run for governor. Steve Marshall seems like a pretty strong candidate for governor, but he has publicly, said he wants no part of the governor's race at all when his term here is finished in 2 years.
Let me touch on that and just say, you talking about somebody moving from Supreme Court to higher office. Of course, he was Chief Justice. The only one I can think of that made that kind of jump was Hal Heflin back a long time ago.
Hal Heaven jumped to the Senate.
No, sorry, yeah, that's what I meant.
And he was Chief Justice, not Associate Justice.
Right, yeah, he was Chief Justice. Pam Casey, I don't know what kind of fun she has, but she seemed like people, when I mention her name, seems like a lot of people know her. So I think she's got some name recognition. I mean, I don't know how much that is in a race like this.
I
What do you
don't
think?
think the average Republican primary voter knows who Pam Casey is. I think the average Republican primary voter doesn't really know who Jay Mitchell is either.
They probably don't know who Steve Marshall is. Well, some
Well,
of our
let's not
voters.
go there. I mean, I think Steve Marshall's pretty well known, among, actual voters. Now,
So,
I think when you get to the general election, voters who don't participate in the primary go to the general election as like, am I voting for Team R or Team D? Because that's all I really know about any of these people.
so you said that Marshall's not interested in the governor's race. Is he not interested in that office, or
He has said that he does not want to run for governor. He is not
okay?
a candidate. Now, if Tommy Tuberville were to run for governor, that would open a U.S. Senate slot. I think Steve Marshall would be the front runner for that open Senate slot. But at this time, my sources say Tommy Tuberville is going to run for re-election to the U.S. Senate. I mean, that job got a whole lot more interesting once Donald Trump got elected, instead of you just being in the minority party and having to take orders from Mitch McConnell like it was the first 4 years.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Um, okay, where do you want to go to next, or is there something else you'll talk about with that?
No, unless we want to talk about the governor's race a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean,
Okay. Obviously, Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth wants to be governor. Um, the big question is, does Tommy Tuberville get in this race? I'm not sure that Ainsworth would run against Tuberville. I kind of think Tuberville is so well liked that name would clear the field. I mean, he would be the automatic front runner according to some polling I've seen. But I don't know that Tuberville wants to leave DC or, in the middle of, Trump's presidency. Now, if Camilla had been elected, it's almost a given that Tuberville would be running for governor rather
I
than
mean,
enduring 4 more years like the last 4 years.
would it
Um,
even be close? I mean, because everybody I know, like even Alabama fans, we're gonna vote for Tuberville. I mean, who wouldn't vote for Tubby?
well, I mean, a lot might come out in a governor's race. We
Uh,
don't know what their agendas is. I mean, again, Mo Brooks looked like the front runner for that Senate seat, 2 years ago, until we actually had the race. Uh, things can change, but going in, Tuberville would be the front runner versus anybody. If Ainsworth, if there's no Tuberville and Ainsworth becomes the front runner. But I'm hearing the Department of Agriculture Commissioner Rick Bate is running for governor. He would be a very
um,
interesting candidate.
I've been saying for about a year and a half, I thought he was a dark horse candidate for
Yeah.
it. And
And
when
I
we were
think he
texting,
will have the support of Kay Ivey, who doesn't really like Tommy Tuberville or Rick Bate. Well, not Rick Bate,
Ainsworth,
Will Ainsworth.
I was texting with the commissioner the other day, and I kind of popped that in there. I said, "Hey, off the record, Commissioner, you're going to be running for governor. And is it possible? Is it possible you could be looking for the governor's office?" And next time. And he never texted me back. So, you said he went out
Yeah,
there.
I mean, nobody who understands the game is going to declare right now because we're in a fundraising dead zone while the legislature is in. When it gets to be May and all of a sudden, you can fundraise, that's the time to announce, hey, I'm running for governor. Contact me. I need money bad.
Let me say this here. What sold me on being a Tuberville man was when he was originally thinking about running for governor in 2018. He said an Alabama fan came up to him and asked him, said, "Give me one reason to vote for you." And he said, "If it wasn't for me, you would never got Nick Saban."
Tuberville is
That's a good.
very well spoken. He's a lot of openness with the press. He would be a very interesting governor. And I kind of think Will Ainsworth would be a good governor. I don't think either one of these is like horrible as a candidate. Lindy Blanchard, who finished second to Governor Ivey, 2 years ago, uh, is certainly a possibility if she wants to get in there.
Tim James.
I mean, Tim James, he's been third 3 times now. He has a core of people that really love Tim James, but thus far he hasn't broken through. I really personally like Tim James, but if he's going to run, he needs to get out there early. Some
Yeah,
of
I can't
his
wait to Matt.
mistakes last time was like waiting till, it was about Thanksgiving, like, hey, I'm running for governor. It's like, okay.
I mean,
And his
Bob.
campaign never really got up to speed this past time, I think, because of his late entry. But I mean, Tim
This
has
is
a really nice family and a nice life, and a successful business. I mean, they build bridges and whatnot. Um, I could see him sitting this one out.
Tim kind of reminds me politically. This is probably a really unfair comparison because Tim's much more likable and got a lot more charisma, but he kind of reminds me of a way in George Wallace Jr. in that when I look at Tim, like he's never going to be Fob. I mean, Fob was just so much more likable and colorful. And does that make sense?
Well, if you get to know Tim, Tim's a really likable guy, but yeah, Bob had a certain charisma, a certain magnetism to him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially in '78, that it's hard, to duplicate.
And don't get me wrong, Tim has some charisma too, but it's just not like I mean, Fobbs was just I don't know. I mean, it's just like you said, it was just special.
And whoever, whatever we have as the main candidates, there will be these goofy candidates that on like the day of qualifying will qualify. I'm running for governor. It's like, why did you wait? You know, just blow. One thing that hurt Blanchard last time was she started off in the Senate deal and she campaigned for months for Senate, and then it was like, well, I'm gonna finish behind, Brooks, Katie Britt, and Durant, so I'm switching races. It's like, okay, what's she ready for this time? Um,
She spent $1 million in that Senate seat before she switched to governor.
it's been like nearly $14 million there.
God.
She was always behind to the incumbent there, and a lot of it was she didn't get in early enough where, the average person who doesn't read Brandon every day, um, in the Alabama Gazette, doesn't know that you're a candidate, much less who you are. What you don't want is, to be like an 80-day window trying to sell people who you are, what you're running for, and why this makes sense in like a 60-day window before the election on television, and, cost spending millions of dollars. And that's the unfortunate position that Blanchard found herself in because she entered the race too late and she had never held public office before. She did good work as ambassador to Slovenia, I think it's telling though that I'm not aware of President Trump, nominating her for ambassador. And by all accounts, she did a good job in that first Trump administration, and her and her husband were real active in supporting Trump. Was campaign from the beginning this time. So I'm thinking if she's not an ambassador, there may be a reason, and that could be that she's going to try her hand at governor, or she may wait to see if Tommy Tuberville enters the governor's race and then run for that open Senate spot.
Last time I think I can. Yeah, this he didn't tell me this was off the record, so I think I can tell this. When she switched that, John Merrill told me that President Trump had contacted him, asked him what he thought about her in those races, and he said, "Mr. President, she can either lose to Mo Brooks or she can lose to Kay Ivey."
And I kind of think that was her situation, though she would have lost to Katie Britt rather than Mo Brooks, but we
I
didn't
mean,
know
you
that at the
mentioned this
time.
one time, and I don't know. I mean, why she went this route that she could have taken $1 million and bought the Secretary of State's office, and the next time been the governor. Or
I advised a potential governor's candidate who dropped out. Didn't drop out, but ultimately decided not to get in. And I tried to convince them that Secretary of State was the place to be. And it just doesn't sound sexy enough for some people. It's like, I want to run for governor or attorney general, U.S. senator. It's like, okay, but when you have an incumbent, they're going to get reelected in Alabama, or at least they're going to win their primary party primary. And if you have established names like Katie Britt and Mo Brooks, and multimillionaire like Mike Durant, um, you don't want to get in those races late without a lot of money.
but
And even if you
I
have a
wonder though
lot of money, you don't get in and do it late.
when you talk about the incumbent, I mean, yeah, they're going to get reelected just like Fobb did. When Blunt challenged him, but when they jumped in the race against Fobb was under 50% approval ratings. Governor Ivey was like
Yeah.
70%. How do you think you're going to unseat somebody with 70% approval ratings?
Yeah, but now there won't be any incumbents in the attorney general's, lieutenant governor, or governor's races or commissioner of agriculture races this next time.
Well, let's just go and talk about that lieutenant governor's race for a minute. I mean, is it going to be Wes Allen, John Merrill, and Twinkle Kavanaugh?
I'm hearing that there's rumblings that John Wall might get into it. Now,
Oh, really?
yeah. Now I'm hearing that he is, going to run for another term as chairman of the party. So I think that means that he's considered lieutenant governor is not going to get in it, because why run for another term there and then have to resign that like midsummer, to run for LG. Um, but you never know. Another name to watch, I think, I've heard that Nicole Jones Wadsworth may get in that lieutenant governor's race.
That's an interesting name. Wow. Um,
Yeah, she's well known in economic development circles in the state, and as a legislative wife, she's pretty well known in the legislature.
is um is Merrill the odds-on favorite for that race?
I would think it's Wes Allen.
Okay. Um, you think for fundraising or because of other things?
Yeah, I think being at the sitting Secretary of State um, gives him a higher profile. Now, nobody has more friends around the state than John Merrill, but in that previous time when he ran for Senate, that didn't translate that well to polling.
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to say. When you look at like what when he
Because I
briefly entered
mean,
that one in
when Jeff Sessions
27%.
got into that, the best John Merrill was going to do was third,
Mhm.
probably fourth. So I mean, he
Behind Bradley
dropped
Byrne.
out.
I mean, he
Yeah,
was
he's probably
polling it
going to
like,
be behind Jeff Sessions, Bradley Byrne, and Tommy Tuberville.
and then remember was it 2017? Didn't he briefly consider that one against when Strange
He
and
considered that one, but there was a scandal, so he never really got in that race.
because he's always at like when I look at those what like 6-7%. I mean, you're right. I mean, he is. I mean, nobody has any more friends than John Merrill, but I don't know why it's not translating. I mean, because I
Yeah, I
I
kind of
made it.
think his last Senate campaign was not well run. They didn't do a good job of messaging. Um, let John is such a
I,
likable guy that, I would not count him out.
yeah, I would never count Merrill out. I mean, and I made a joke that he would
And
answer
again,
a
I don't think
call.
Wes Allen, as much as I like Wes, is anywhere near as well known statewide as John Merrill was when he
Well,
held that same post.
oh yeah, I made a joke that Merrill, even if it was his own funeral, he would answer a phone call because I've called him, and he was at a girls basketball game in Tuscaloosa and answered. I called him, and it was 30 seconds before the Kentucky Derby started, and he answered the call.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody in the state has John Merrill's, personal cell number or know somebody who can get it to him.
If I text him, it's like 20 seconds later he texts back.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if John had like he
But
had a
I've got to give the incumbent Secretary of State the edge.
yeah
But I mean,
because
we're so far away from people actually voting that, what we think is going to happen here without actually seeing the field or seeing any of the debate or any of the ads or the campaigns. Yeah, that's some difficult prognosticating. We probably
is
need to
he
go and cover this legislature a little bit.
okay?
Um,
Let me ask one more question, and then we'll
did
go to
pass anti-immigration bills out of the
mhm,
Senate. Will
okay.
make it more difficult for you to employ illegal aliens, requiring the Alabama, police forces to cooperate with federal authorities on immigration. Um, you know, I'm thinking the Trump administration is serious about cracking down. I kind of believe most of the illegal aliens will stay, but yeah, I think millions and especially the bad actors, are going to be sent elsewhere. They
Is there
already
gonna be
had a
some?
bunch of Jamaicans that were running an illegal outlaw fake lottery scam. Hey, you won the lottery. Now to collect your reward, you have to pay the taxes in advance. So I need $3,000. Um,
God,
yeah. So
God.
ICE came and the marshals hunted those poor people down, and they're now in Guantanamo Bay.
I mean, that's so. Is there not? Is there going to be some self deportation over this? Because your face would go into
I think you're
Gitmo. Because
already starting to see some self
I,
deportation.
how many people did they take to Gitmo after 9/11 that's been sitting there for 24 years waiting, you know, being
I kind of
detained?
think most of the original Gitmo guys that, we got have been released. There's probably some still in there that we're scared to let out for good reason. No, there were guys in Gitmo for a decade.
Yeah, I mean, that was sitting there with no
There
lawyer,
were no
no, I mean,
trial. They're just in Gitmo.
mm-mm, no charge. They
And
just been
I
sitting in
kind of
Gitmo.
think it was some of these criminal illegals. Yeah, it may be like that here. It's like, yeah,
I
we're
mean,
going to do a trial eventually. We're going to deport you eventually, but you're going to sit in Gitmo till then.
and look, I mean, I know that we try to pride ourselves on humanity or whatever prisoners. Hey, you don't want to know what's going on there down there at Gitmo.
Well, Biden invested a bunch of money in upgrading Gitmo and the facility as an illegal alien detention center. Um, so I don't think it's quite like it was at the height of the Trump administration. I mean, the first Bush, the Bush administration, where they were waterboarding people.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I bet that was a rough. I would hate to go there, son. Um. Okay, so what else we got in the legislature?
We did pass and sign the What is a Woman bill. In case you were wondering, God made them male and female, and that's how it is. You're not
I mean,
changing. You're not changing your gender, and outside of Alabama accept it. I'm sorry. I don't care what surgeries you have, or how much many hormones and puberty blockers you take. Yes, if God made you a man, you'll die a man legally in Alabama, and we don't want to see you in our women's restrooms.
I mean, for what since creation, this was never an issue. A
I mean,
man,
it's like Susan DeBose said, this only became an issue because some people don't have common sense.
I mean, that's what that's just common sense. I mean, if a 5-year-old kid can say boys have a PP and girls have a vagina, I mean, hey, that's good enough for me, man.
Yeah. Uh,
I mean,
I mean,
like
cutting your
this
stuff off or, taking, the other gender's, hormones in massive quantities. To me, that's just really weird. I don't
maybe
think that should even be legal. I
if we
mean,
had
to
a
me,
lottery,
I mean, why somebody wants to be drug dependent for the rest of their lives, to make them something that they're not, uh, is insane. But now
I
that
mean,
that
maybe
bill did pass. Um, the another big bill that moved in the legislature. There's two different versions of it, but both of them cleared committee on Wednesday, which is the Glock switch ban. This
Glock
is big.
switch ban. Okay.
Yeah, there's a little piece of plastic device that will allow you to take like a Glock 19 and all of a sudden, you pull the trigger and all 10 or 20, whatever bullets you have in your magazine all come running out, to hit your victim 10 times.
Like, okay. It just, so I'm thinking about like when the M16 when I was in the Army, we had a rapid fire of 3 rounds. So this is a rapid fire of a 12-round clip.
Yeah, the whole
Like,
clip just starts coming. It's like
wow.
it turns a semi-automatic. I guess you could make this with any, good
Is it Glock?
semi-automatic
So,
pistol. But,
uh,
I mean, it's most commonly done with the Glock, probably because the Glock is so popular. And they're
well, I
called
wonder if
Glock
it,
switches, and they're illegal federally, and we're trying to make them illegal state-wise. My
Glock switch.
concern with this legislation is this gives um, law enforcement a reason to ask you to hand over your gun. Because we all have the right in Alabama to have our weapon with us at all times, concealed or open carry. Um,
So this bill, they can ask you to see your weapon, or it can. Are you still there, Brendan? Because oh dang.